This banner is actually good. Thank you, MiHoYo. What's up, guys? So they just released the new Hu Tao banner and the new weapon banner that's going to be coming with it. And oh boy, we have some stuff to talk about. I don't know if you guys saw the newly released weapons, but those do look kind of promising, but we'll talk about those in a second. I want to focus on the new Hu Tao banner that they just released so we can talk about the value of all the 4 stars on this banner and on the weapon banner. So the first thing that I noticed when I was looking at this banner is obviously Thoma's on it, which is really cool. I was expecting them to have a bunch of shielders on it, but it looks like that's not actually the case. Sayu actually doesn't shield, but Diona is there, and Diona has great synergy with Hu Tao, as I talked about a little bit in my Hu Tao guide that you guys should definitely go watch because I just put it out yesterday. But yeah, looking at this banner, you can interpret it a couple different ways. After testing Thoma for a bit, he does actually have synergy with Hu Tao, but let me explain how it works. So essentially with Hu Tao, you have to have Sync Chaw because you want to vaporize every hit. However, if you have Thoma with her, you do need to have C6 Sync Chaw, which gives him an extra rain sword, because that extra rain sword is going to make his hydro application good enough for Thoma not to interrupt Hu Tao's vapes with his pyro application. But if you don't have C6 Sync Chaw, you actually don't want to run Thoma with Hu Tao because that would have anti-synergy. That would actually be bad for Hu Tao's damage and for your overall team damage. So Thoma could be good or bad depending on the state of your Sync Chaw, but overall Thoma actually isn't a bad support for Hu Tao, especially giving pyro resonance to the rest of your team even, and his shield is actually pretty strong. Now Sayu, to be honest, isn't that great here. The only thing that I think Sayu does that's like pretty good is that she can use Viridescent Venerer, which will help reduce enemies' defense to pyro, which will help Thoma and Hu Tao do a lot more damage. And then Diona's another shielder. You wouldn't need to run Thoma and Diona on the same team, but either of them could work with Hu Tao. So basically, if you don't have C6 Sync Chaw, you don't really want to run Thoma and you would run Diona with her instead. But yeah, the other reason Diona actually has a really good synergy with Hu Tao is because her C6 gives elemental mastery whenever you're in the area of effect. So if you're hitting any melts or vaporizes with Hu Tao inside of her AoE, you're going to be doing a ton more damage because you're going to get 200 elemental mastery in there, which is just incredible. To be completely honest, I think that the value of these characters isn't actually them as characters, but more as like just collector's items, because we all want Thoma because he's new. Like even if you're not going to use Thoma, I feel like most people at least want Thoma. And so him being here obviously means that the banner already carries more value. But then Sayu also is one of the least owned 4 stars in the entire game because she was on Yoimiya banner, and we all know how many people rolled on that one. So, but yeah, Sayu's highly sought after. Even if she won't be used, it's just that she is very rare. So this is good news for those of you who skipped Yoimiya if you're going for Hu Tao C1 or just for Hu Tao in general. Sayu being on here is good news. But then the real unit that like you want to be happy about, the one that's going to bring the most value to more teams, is actually going to be Diona. So as a collector's banner, this is great. As an overall value banner, it's okay. It's not the worst I've seen. It's not amazing, but overall it's pretty solid, right? If you're going for C1 Hu Tao, getting Diona Constellations is great. And if you have C6 Sync Chaw, getting Thoma is awesome. But honestly, that's all I have to say about this banner. If you want to know my opinion on Hu Tao herself and whether or not she's worth pulling on, go check out my Hu Tao guide. I did a full review on her. The video is like 24 minutes long. It's extremely detailed, but it tells you all the things you need to know about her. So check that out if you want to know more. Now we need to talk about this because holy shit. So Homa has a history of being on good weapon banners. I don't know if you saw, but the first time around, Homa was with Wolf's Gravestone, which is a highly sought after weapon. I don't know how much longer it'll be a highly sought after weapon, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but it's pretty good. Now, Elegy for the End, people kind of shit on this weapon at first. People felt like this weapon wasn't super great. It is a really strong support weapon for its passive. For those of you who don't know, the effect of this gives elemental mastery and attack when it's used correctly, so it's a really, really strong weapon for your team. Honestly, all of the weapons in this set can be good supportive weapons, so even though it's not technically anyone's best in slot weapon, it's still a really solid weapon. And if you're a free-to-play player and you don't have any 5-star bows, while I don't recommend getting this one for DPS characters, it doesn't hurt to have it all. And overall, I would see it as more of a positive than a negative being with Hu Tao's banner. I love seeing double event rate ups over 1 event rate up and 1 standard banner rate up anyways, so that's already good. But that's not even talking about the 4 stars. So as you can see, we have Sacrificial Sword, which is an amazing weapon, especially for Sync Chaw. It is literally his best in slot. People will say Jade Cutter, people will say a lot of other weapons just for more damage on him, but like that is really situational. I can guarantee you Sac Sword will almost always be best on Sync Chaw because that is a chance to reset your cooldown when you activate his elemental skill, and he actually hits twice, so you have 2 chances to activate the effect of this, which resets his elemental skill that has a 21-second cooldown. So it's really amazing for him. And if you're a free-to-play player, having Sac Sword is just like, it's a necessity. But I'm not saying to pull yet, so hold on. With Sith, this is also one of the best 4-star weapons in the game. It has a crit crit damage main stat, and it has the ability to giga buff the user of the weapon with one of 3 random buffs. People use it to one-shot things with Mona a lot, but they also just use it for most catalysts in the game because it's just such a solid 4-star weapon, and it can compete with a lot of 5 stars, especially at higher refinements. So this is really solid. Pain Slasher is okay on Sayu, and it's okay on Diluc. Actually, it's really good on Diluc in the right build, but a lot of people are going to say that's cursed because it looks gross, so whatever. Pain Slasher is here. Then you have these 2 new weapons, which I'm really excited about. So this first weapon, the Wavebreaker's Fin Polearm, it looks kind of weird. Like if you're just taking it at first glance, you can see 620 base attack. I mean, that is certainly something, right? That is incredibly high. If we get a Bennett that's a polearm, this is going to be insane. It's going to go crazy. Meanwhile, though, the attack percent stat is extremely low. This is level 90. Look, at 13% at level 90. So people are probably going to call this weapon shit because of that, but I think for future characters, it could potentially be pretty solid. I want to talk about its effect, though, because its effect is also really strong. So if you use this weapon on a character that doesn't scale on attack very much, or if you have a character that is just overall less reliant on attack, this is really solid for building them as a nuke because it increases elemental burst damage of your character based on the party's maximum combined energy capacity. So for example, this will be a solid Raiden weapon. This will probably be a solid Tomo weapon. Definitely not best in slot, but it'll also be a super solid weapon for nuke Hu Tao if you build her like that for some reason. I always prefer to build her DPS. At R1, it looks like a budget catch for Xiangling. The benefit of the catch is that it has an ER main stat that helps you build ESF a lot easier, while also giving you extra crit, right? Having crit value on that 4-star is amazing, and it being R5able for free to play is amazing. This weapon will likely be pretty good though, especially if you're running someone like Bennett who's gonna buff your attack anyways. This attack percent becomes a little less relevant. Yeah, overall, I mean, this polearm looks like it's good for a few characters. And now you have Moonbow. So for every point of the entire party's combined max energy capacity, the elemental burst damage of the character equipping this weapon is increased by 0.12%. Maximum of 40% elemental burst damage can be achieved this way. Might be like Brax, this is the same effect as the other one. But this seems like it'd be solid if you decide to build Venti in a team that doesn't focus on reactions, so you would build him as crit or attack build. Getting a ton of elemental burst damage is really nice. You can also put this on Sara if you're using Sara in any kind of electro comp, because a lot of the electro characters have high cost ults. The elemental burst damage from this seems like it'll be pretty pog, and I do think that in the future there are going to be characters that can use these 2 weapons that revolve around elemental bursts, because the more characters that come out, the more potential for high cost bursts and synergies, which means that these will get a lot of benefit from it, especially if you look at R5 of these, which hit up to 80% burst damage. That's insane. So yeah, I mean, honestly, this weapon banner looks really solid. At first glance, I wasn't really a big fan of it, but after thinking it over for a little bit, this weapon banner seems like a lot of value. I was planning on skipping Homa this time around, actually, just because I don't feel like I need it. I have so many polearms, but I really feel like, me personally, I can't lose on this banner. I don't know about you guys. If you already have Elegy and you already have most of these 4-stars, then yeah, probably not a great banner for you. But if you're hoping for Homa and you don't get Homa and you do get Elegy, it's still a pretty solid support weapon if you have any bow support characters. So it's just something to think about. Again, guys, it's not anyone's best in slot. Elegy, I mean, it's not even Venti's best in slot, heck, but it just is a good weapon. Like if you're building any sort of Vape team or Overload team, this will help buff you. I don't think this set is that bad. A lot of people hate this set. I think it's pretty solid. And the 4-stars, in my opinion, do make this worth it, especially because Sack Sword is just, oh my god, it's so good. Widsith is so freaking good. And of course, Staff of Homa is just the best polearm in the game, undebatably. So if you want the final verdict on these 2 banners, I'd have to say that the Hu Tao banner is completely situational. Like if you just want to collect Sayu, if you want to collect Toma, then this is a great banner for you. If you use Diona a lot and you want to get her C6, this is a pretty solid banner for you. All of these characters can bring some semblance of value, though 2 of them aren't necessarily on the battlefield. If you have C6 Xingqiu, this is a good banner for you as well, because Toma can work with Hu Tao with C6 Xingqiu. But if you don't meet any of those requirements, like if you're not just trying to collect characters, if you're trying to make sure you get the most 4-star value on your banners, I actually don't think I would suggest rolling on this. But of course, don't forget the most important part, which is Hu Tao. As far as the weapon banner goes, I know I'm going to be pulling on this, but I also do have a tendency to pull on things that I usually shouldn't. I think that these 4-stars are really good for free-to-play low spender players if you do decide to go on the weapon banner. Now, I would never suggest rolling on the weapon banner as a free-to-play unless the weapon banner was like just insanely good value, like you could not go wrong. I'm not saying you can't go wrong with this banner, but it is going to be a lot harder to go wrong with this banner than it will be with some other ones. So yeah, this banner gets a pass from me, guys. Let me know what you guys think about these banners in the comments below. I will be reading through these, and I'm super excited for these next banners to come out personally. Let me know if you're rolling on Hu Tao. Let me know if you're getting Homa. Make sure to subscribe to be tuned in to all future Genshin Impact videos from me, and join the community Discord, and follow me on Twitter and on Twitch.